How is it going, guys? It is Chill Wednesday. It's actually a very chilly Wednesday. Apparently there is an ice storm on the way, but we're out here anyway, and we're gonna be working on the GR86 because I'm anticipating a package showing up in the mail in a couple of hours, and I wanted to get a head start on the install process so I don't have to stay out here any longer than I need to. Hopefully, I don't freeze to death. Now, some of you guys may already know what I'm talking about, or if you read the title or saw the thumbnail, you should know what I'm talking about. What we're gonna be installing is a brake light that's incorporated into this black trim piece that goes across the trunk. I think it looks amazing. It perfectly connects both of the taillights. It flows really well. It gives you some NSX vibes. It's cool, but of course there is a downside. We're gonna be deleting this trunk button. For me, I don't have a big problem with it because I'm perfectly fine using the button on the key fob or inside the car, but for some people, that's gonna be a deal breaker, and I get it. It's a nice feature to have, so I wanted to let you guys know beforehand. But what we need to do is remove this trunk garnish piece here to take the OEM trim piece off and replace it with the new one. If you guys haven't done this before, well, I'm gonna show you how. Go ahead and open your trunk. We're gonna need to remove this panel right here. It's held in with some pop clips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just a flathead screwdriver to pop those out. And then we can just set this aside. That gives us access to everything we need. So unplug these two connectors and push the grommets through so they don't get caught. And we're left with 6 of these 8mm nuts that we need to remove. Be really careful when you take these off. Do not drop them in your trunk. You're gonna have a hell of a time fishing them out, and it's just a bad time. So just be careful when you're taking them off. That's a 10, Kevin. Since I'm doing this by myself, I'm actually gonna leave one loosely on there. So when I pop that garnish off, it doesn't just fall onto the rear windshield. On each side of the trunk, right above the taillight, there's gonna be 2 more 8mm bolts that we need to remove. Don't forget to take these off. All the nuts and bolts are removed, so here's how you pry this thing off. You pick a side. I'm on the passenger side right now. I'm gonna take my right hand, I'm gonna rest my palm on this edge, and I'm gonna use my thumb to press against this black edge here, pressing it towards the front of the car and popping it off of the trunk. With my left hand, I'm gonna brace my forehand on this portion of the trunk, and then use my palm and my thumb again, and I'm pushing that way until I hear it pop off. Now, that's just one, but you're gonna need to do it for one more pop. It does require a decent amount of force, and that's why I put one of the nuts, actually 2 of the nuts back on here so it doesn't fall on the windshield. There you go. Now I'm gonna go to do the same thing on the other side. Fun stuff. Okay, so now that it's broken free, I can take the nuts that I loosely threaded back on there off, and I should be able to pull this completely off. But before I do that, I'm gonna lower this down a little bit. There we go. Just feed the harnesses through those holes. All right. I'll get back to the spoiler in a second here, but in anticipation for the wiring that we need to do, I'm gonna remove most of the trunk lining so we can see the best way to route the wiring. Unfortunately, to remove my mats, I do need to take part of my strut brace off, but not a huge deal. Most of this, actually all of this, is pop clips. This plastic piece here, it's 3 pop clips on the back, and then it pops straight up, and the rest is pretty self-explanatory. For those of you that are curious, the reason why I need to remove this portion of the strut bar to take my mats out is because I cut them to fit exactly around these mounts. So it's a seamless install, looks really good, but obviously there's a downside if I need to take the mat out, which I don't do that often, but it just slides over these mounts. Like that. I'm gonna remove the driver's side taillight. I don't actually have any of the hardware installed right now, and it's not even plugged in because I keep taking it on and off to install different overlays. I just added these red turn signals and a yellow option to the driven.media website if you wanna check those out. But what you need to do is stick a plastic pry tool into this gap here to pry this cover off. There's gonna be a total of 3 10mm bolts, 2 underneath that cover and 1 at the very top. And then you can pull the tail light straight back and off of the car. If you're doing this for the very first time, it's probably gonna take a little bit of work. But once you have it off, make sure to unplug it and set it aside. Back over to the spoiler here. I haven't actually taken this specific piece off, so we're gonna figure this out together. Taking a quick look on the back side, it looks like it's just some Phillips head screws. So there's 1, that's not a screw, that's a tab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 2 holding the button in place, and then 2 tabs, 1 right here and 1 right here. So I'm gonna remove those screws. We'll press on those tabs and see if this thing pops out. So for the button, I'm just gonna pull this off. I will likely be zip tying it to the back side of this kind of plastic brace here, just to keep it out of the way. I've got all these screws removed, so let's press on these tabs and see if this thing pops out. Popped out a little bit there, and there. It seems to be, okay, so there's this little rubber cover on the ends here. I'm just gonna peel this off. Looks like it's just double-sided taped on there. And it looks like there's a tab on the end. Let me pop this out more and see if I can get a better look at it. Yeah, so I'm gonna take a flathead screwdriver, stick it in the end there, and then that just pries off like that. And then it should just come off. Take this off. Same thing on this side. I'm gonna pry it off. And that should be both sides. There we go. Of course, the part is still not here yet, but that does give me some time to show you guys some new stuff. If you live in an area like mine where it snows and rains a lot in the winter, especially if you daily drive your car, every time you get in your car, you're dragging in a bunch of dirt, grime, water, mud, and your floor mats start looking like mine, even though I haven't driven this car that much. These are the all-weather floor mats that can come with the car. They look great at first, but after a little bit of use, they start looking faded and nasty even after you wash them. The carpet floor mats look great, but they don't offer all that much protection. So we're gonna be swapping these out for the 3D Kagu floor mats. Super nice upgrade. The black textured finish blends in perfectly with the carpet, and it's gonna offer more protection with the raised edges to contain everything and keep it off your carpet. On the underside, they've got the 3D Max Spider technology that's like thousands of these little bristles that lock onto your carpet. So once you have it in place, it's nearly impossible for them to slip, even though you do retain the OEM floor mat locks. There's front and rear, so you can get the whole set if for some reason you wanna toss somebody in the back seat. But if you guys wanna pick up a set for yourself, you can use the code Kevin3D10 to get $10 off your order. I'll leave a link down below. These are a great upgrade if you care about keeping your floor clean. This box literally just came in. I wasn't lying when I said it wasn't here yet when I showed you guys the 3D mats, but let's take a look at what we're working with. Okay. So we've got, looks like a long harness here. So a lot of people have been running into, or I guess not a lot of people because not a lot of people have this yet, but some people that have bought this have ran into the issue where it is not all black and it's red, but let's see if this one's all black. Hey, look at that. This one is actually smoked out. We don't have a red line all the way across. That is the one that I wanted. So thankfully, that's what we got. Sometimes, you know, when you buy stuff on eBay from China, it doesn't always come the way you want it. So let's go ahead and figure out how to get this thing installed. I'm hoping it just pops right on here. I disconnected the long harness and this portion goes through where the button was. And then we'll line everything up and hope for the best. All right, looks good so far. I'm gonna get all the screws reinstalled and then we can figure out this wiring. So when I went to install the original screws to secure it into place, I actually figured out that these holes are too big for these screws and it doesn't come with any other screws that I saw in the box. So that kind of sucks. Not a huge deal. You'll need to get different size screws that are a little bit larger. I don't have any laying around right now. So what I'm gonna do is just install it as is right now. I think the tabs hold it in place just good enough. And I'll get it on the car just so I'm able to show you guys what it looks like. Here's an issue you may run into. I've got this wired up to show you, but I've got the hazards going. Cars overseas may be wired up a little bit differently, so that's probably why this issue has arisen. But the hazards shouldn't have anything to do with this light, but as you can see, it's signaling. So let me figure this out real quick. To make this work, we need to repin this harness because it's obviously pulling the signal from the wrong wire. So what we need to do is take the white and yellow wire in each of these connectors and swap them. I'm gonna start with the male connector because it's the easiest, but all you really need is one of these pick tools, and for the female connector you need a set of pliers. But if you look in here, you're gonna see, I'm gonna have to look around the camera here, you're gonna see a plastic tab at the top of each of these pins. That's what's locking it in place. So you need to stick the pick tool in there and pry it up to release it. Do I have the right? I can't see. Hold on. So here's the white wire here. So it's the left, top left right here. So I'm gonna stick the pick tool in there and pry it up while pulling this wire out, and you're gonna be able to slide it out. And I'll do the same thing for the yellow. So I gotta stick the pick tool in there, pry the little plastic retainer, and then I'm able to slide this out, and I'll replace that with the white and make sure it locks in place. Get the yellow back into that one. It should click, and then we will work on this. I'm gonna pull this kind of white retainer out. Come on. There we are. And it's the same thing. There's just some plastic retainers that are holding these pins in place. So again, just swapping the white and yellow. I'm gonna start with the white one here. I'm sorry if you can't see, you probably can't see most of this, but as long as you know you need to swap the white and yellow wires on both connectors, you'll be able to make this work. Come on. There we are. So white or yellow goes up there. Make sure it locks into position. Get the white down there. Lock that in. And now we will plug this in. Oh, I need to reinstall this guy. Make sure it gets in there correctly. Okay, now we'll plug this in and hopefully I did it right. All right, so I'm inside the car. I'm gonna step on the brake to make sure that works correctly. So it lights up when I step on the brake. Let's turn the lights on. There we go. It's working right. Step on the brake. There you go. It gets brighter. It's working as it should now. Sorry about the noise. All right, so I'm running out of time and it's getting a lot colder, so I'm just gonna quickly run through how I'm going to route the wiring. You really don't need to watch me do this. As long as I explain it, you'll be able to figure it out. This is probably the most tedious part, but it's not that difficult. It just takes some time. Now, the extension comes off of the taillight harness. As you can see, you need to route that straight down behind the bumper, and it's gonna come back up through this grommet here. You'll be able to have enough room when you get underneath the car to fish it through here. You're gonna have to cut a slice through this grommet. I can't really show you a good view of that, but there's a grommet right here. Get it through there, and then follow this up, and there is another grommet right here. If we come up top, you'll see it right there. You can just pull this off, and then you need to feed it through this little, I don't know what you call this thing, but feed it through this plastic hosing. This will come off as well, like that. You'll be able to pull it through here, and then you fish it up through the trunk and connect it to the spoiler. Now, I just need to do that. I've got everything roughly reinstalled and wired up, so let's peel this off, and I shall show you how it looks. So here it is with the lights on, and then I will step on the brake, so it should get brighter along with the tails. and then I'll turn it off and step on the brake. And there you go. How's it look? There you go, guys. That is the install for the trunk brake light on the GR86. I apologize for getting a little rush at the end here. It's getting cold, but it's on there. It is certainly a unique look. I know I raved about it earlier, and I still think it looks cool, but I'm always gonna be honest with you guys. There's a couple things about it that make me wanna take it off. The first thing is the plastic behind the actual light itself. It's an unfinished plastic, and it doesn't match the gloss black of the taillight. So that kind of sticks out to me. And some people were wondering about this. It does stick out further than the stock trim, but that's to be expected because they have to stuff a light in there. However, the angle at which it comes out doesn't match up very well with the tail light. So that kind of bothers me as well. It may not bother some people, but I don't know. I'm not sure whether or not this is gonna stay on the car. Let me know what you guys think. Does it look cheap? Does it look cool? Comment down below. I'll also drop the link down below where I got this. But I need to get back inside and get warm. If you guys want to support the channel, check out the Driven Media merch and the overlays. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next time.